Hey everybody, this is Elizabeth of Southern Gmore Gals. In my video, I have 6 beautiful fall DIYs. Welcome everyone to Southern Gmore Gals. Now this one is one of my favorites in the video. So this is a little leaf from the Dollar Tree. It's like a thin metal type leaf. I think it's a really pretty design. I just don't like the plaid on it. And one great thing about this piece, the letters are kind of raised on it. Here you can see it a little bit better. First thing I did was spray painted it black to cover up all that plaid and put a nice dark shade behind this light colored paint. This is an off-white spray paint. And then I'm just taking a little sander here and I'm hitting on top of those raised places to give this a good distressed look. And the lettering here, the word fall just really seems to pop out now. And that's what I wanted. That's why you want to put that dark background. You want to paint it dark first and then kind of sand some of that off so it'll show through. I'm going to go all around all the edges here to give it a little bit more distressing. And then I'm going to hit the little leaves that are beside the wording there a little bit too. It came with a little bow on it, so I'm just hot gluing that back onto it. For this DIY, I purchased this wreath at the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker. So I'm just taking some of the antique Waverly wax and just lightly going around, just hitting the highlights here around this wreath to just give it a little bit more of a darker shade. I'm going to put a thankful across the middle here, and I'm going to make that white, so I want it to pop out a little bit more. So that's one reason I wanted to darken this wreath down. And this is the thankful that I'm going to use. It also came from the Dollar Tree. It has a little candle holder in there, and this pops apart really easy. So I'm just taking my fingers, I'm going to pop that apart, but you want to be sure, keep those little wooden pieces down there because we're going to make something else later in another DIY with those pieces. So be sure you keep your little scraps, and maybe some Christmas DIYs will make something with those. But how I'm going to attach my sign here, I painted it a Waverly plaster shade of chalk paint, and then I'm just using some really thin zip ties, and I'm going to put one on each side to attach my word here. You want to get it nice and secure and make sure for the zip tie you have the little fastener or the little clasp part on it that it's going to be in the back so it's not showing. So I'm putting one zip tie on each side. I'm speeding my struggle bus up here, so you have to watch me struggle with it a little bit, but that's all I'm doing. I'm going to clip the back part off, and it looks beautiful. It really pops out. And these are the little trucks I'm going to use on this wreath. I'm only going to use one, but keep the rest of them because we'll use those for something else at another time. And all I'm doing is I'm going to paint the truck a bright red. I sanded it just a little bit around where it had the glitter to get some of that off. And I painted around the wheels there a little bit of a darker red, and I repainted the tires, and right in the center, kind of the hubcap, I used a gray shade. So it really tones the truck down, makes it look a little bit better. You can see it there. I don't really like the glitter on them, so that helped get rid of that glitter with sanding. And these are just some of the floral things that I'm going to put on my wreath here. I just took some of that ribbon, came from the Dollar Tree. It has pumpkins on it. I'm going to take a couple leaves I'm going to lay down here, and then I have some corn husks from our garden that I put in some bleach that I'm going to use on this. And the pumpkins came in a 4-pack. I also painted those. I used a Waverly pumpkin shade of chalk paint. And here you can see I'm going to reattach the pumpkin on the truck. I didn't like the way that they have those attached, and they pop off really easily. You can see here a little bit better. I put the one bow up a little bit higher than the ribbon bow is, so that way the truck will kind of fit in here a little bit better. And I'm going to hot glue the truck up against that raffia type bow. And I wanted a little something on the bottom of this wreath too, so I'm taking a little bit more of that corn husk that I have, and I'm just hot gluing this, and then it really wasn't holding it really good, so I'm actually going to take a zip tie and twist it around just on the top part of the wreath and twist that in place. And you can see the pumpkins here a little bit better. They do have a piece of wire that comes on them, and you can twist that in here, but I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue to put these in place. And I have a couple pieces of this red. It's kind of like almost like a red corn husk, some floral pieces that my sister gave me in a pack. So I'm going to cut a couple pieces of that red and slide these in here. And then I'm going to use my glue gun to glue these in place too. For my next DIY, I'm going to be using these two wooden cutouts from the Dollar Tree. I really like the little pumpkins on the back of the truck, and then I found this was actually a little Halloween piece that I'm going to use like as a wreath design. And this is just my husband's razor knife here. It's a little bit big to do this job. An X-Acto knife probably would have worked better. So I'm just pushing down here to cut this out some. Actually, a little piece of it cracked, but I'm going to glue that back in place. So you might see that happen, but you just have to kind of rock it back and forth. And I only had that happen with one piece, and I think that's because I'm using a little bit too big of a razor blade here to cut this with. And the wreath part that I'm going to be using, I painted that the plaster shade of Waverly chalk paint. I think I actually put 2 coats on it because I really wanted the white to pop out against the red truck that's going to be on here. I painted this Harvest sign. I spray painted it black. These come in a 3-pack from the Dollar Tree. And Harvest is kind of the harder word to use out of that pack. I think you can use thankful and welcome really easy. So I wanted to use that Harvest. I thought it would look really good here with these pumpkins. And here you can see my truck a little bit better how I painted it. I used a little bit more of a bright red in the center and then some darker red around the wheels. And then I used a little bit of antique wax to go over the truck to give it a kind of a distressed look or a weathered truck look. Then I'm going to use 1 zip tie to attach the truck. I'm going to go through the pumpkin on the back. The front part of the truck, I couldn't find a place to attach it really good on the front with the zip tie. So I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue from my glue gun. And I'm going to attach the word Harvest the same way. I'm actually going to use 2 zip ties on Harvest, and then I'll go back and put a little bit of paint and put a little bit of black paint on the top of the zip ties and a little bit of orange paint where the pumpkins are, just to blend that in a little bit better so you don't see that zip tie. And it feels good and secure and snug on here. Now, if you were going to put this outside, you definitely want to go over it with some kind of clear coat to seal your chalk paint in. And I love this little red Farmtruck or Farmtruck ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's just the cutest thing. I love it, so I just made a really simple bow here, but I wanted something else. So I'm going to add a couple of those pumpkins up here and a little bit more of the corn husk just to give it more of a wreath type look. This one turned out real cute. I wanted to show it to you outside and inside. So this is outside. And I feel like Dollar Tree did a really good job with this sign. I think it's really cute, but I think the truck could look just a little bit better. I think it looks kind of cheap looking the way they have it painted on here. And the sign had a little bow right there, and when I popped the bow off, that's what I put in my other DIY, that plaid bow. It ripped it just a little bit, it tore it, so I'm just taking some of the silver linen paint and I'm just going to hit that little spot right there just to cover it up, and it blends it in really good just so you can't tell where it had a little tear. So I just added 2 little bows of that red truck or farm truck ribbon there to cover up those holes. It did have a piece of twine to hang it with, and you could keep that on there if you're going to hang it, but I'm not going to hang it. I'm just going to kind of set it up, or you could put a little Jenga block on the back if you wanted it to stand on its own. I hope you can see my truck a little bit better here. I think it looks much more high-end looking, giving it a little bit better paint job. And I just painted over that metal part. I used a dark red. I had to go over it a couple times to get it to cover, but it gives it a much better look. Let me know what you think, if you think the makeover gives it a much better high-end look than the way that it was. So this one really is a great transformation to make this sign over. It really turned out beautiful. So all I'm going to do, I got this sign from the Dollar Tree. They have a couple different ones. I know they have one that says grateful, and I think they may have one, I don't know if it says home. I can't remember what the other one. I think they have 3 different options. But I hope you'll see in my video here that you can really take something from there and make it over and give it a nice high-end look. And I think this sign really gives you a great example of that. Now, first here to take these staples out, I tried this big screwdriver, too big to do this at first. So I'm going to switch down to a little tiny screwdriver, and then once it starts raising up, I'll pop it out with this bigger screwdriver. Now for the front here, I'm taking a little bit of this agave shade of chalk paint, and I'm dipping my paintbrush down in some water because I want to give this just kind of like a, what I'd call whitewashing, just a really kind of see-through look. I want the sign to look a little bit rustic, or you know, kind of like it's really distressed, almost like it's rusted with just a little bit of the paint showing through. So I'm going to paint around the edge or the square part, and then we're going to go back and we're going to paint Thankful a black shade. And for the word thankful, I'm taking a large brush from the Dollar Tree with some black paint, and I'm going to go over the lettering. I'm actually going to go over it twice. The first time I did it, I don't think I'd put quite as much black on it as I wanted to see. I want some of the brown to show through. So I'm really just kind of tracing over as if I was writing, you know, doing the cursive writing with the paintbrush, just to give it a little bit more of a darker shade so the wording will really pop out when we put the background up against it. And speaking of the background, all I'm going to do is I'm taking some of the contact paper. I used this in my last DIY, so I have a ton of this. This is from the Dollar Tree. It's sticky on the back. So I'm just going to cover the part that was already in the sign with this contact paper. It does get a little bit of bubbling under it, or it can get some wrinkles under it. So you just have to take your hands and smooth it down. And don't get frustrated with it. If there's a little bit of bubbling or something, it'll be fine, because you're not going to see it once you go over it with some paint here. And we want it to look like some distressed wood, and you know, it's not perfect. So I'm going to take some of, you're actually seeing me take the white wax, and it's too light. I had to go over it again with the plaster. So don't use the wax, use the plaster shade. And I'm just painting on top of this to give it a rustic wooden look, like it's a nice aged piece of wood. And this looks gorgeous. I think the white back behind there just really makes it pop out. So all I'm going to do is just place this back in here. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue. I'm going to hot glue both little layers on the back here. That way, if I wanted to change the back out or put something in the background, something else at some time, I'd be able to do that and remove this really easy. And thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. And you can also connect with us on Instagram and Facebook. And I'd love to have you subscribe if you're new here to my channel. I want to thank everybody that's already a subscriber. So I found this little pumpkin. It's a glass pumpkin at the Dollar Tree. And I really love finding things at the Dollar Tree or at a discounted price or a cheaper price, and trying to make them over into some high-end looking designs. So let me know what you think about my DIYs in my video today. All I did was I spray painted this pumpkin. I used an ivory, a brisk shade of spray paint. I'm taking some of the antique wax. And the wax really isn't designed, I guess, to paint a lot with, or to paint something solid. So you can kind of see that it has a little bit of lines there. You can kind of see through it a little bit. But that's okay, because I'm going to go over top of it with this nail polish. Now, I did let this sit overnight to let the wax dry. And then I'm taking some of the nail polish. I wanted some of it like a metallic look or a gold look to go on top of here. And I didn't realize when I started painting it, when I set it, you know, to dry, the nail polish, it like crinkled or gave it like this crackled effect, which was really awesome because I wasn't expecting it to do that. And I'm not quite sure if it did that because it was on top of the wax or why it did that, but it gave it an awesome look. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for tuning into my channel. I'd love to have you subscribe. Leave me a comment. That really helps out my channel. And if you give me a thumbs up, that's wonderful for my channel. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed my fall DIYs. Come back next Thursday for our third Thursday thrift flips for October. Thanks again. Have a great day.